Guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, there's more information coming out about the Henryetta murder-suicide with Jesse McFadden and Holly Guess. Now, KFOR, which is a local station out of Oklahoma, they have been doing some great work, of course, as well as News Nation. But Kaylee Obaz, she has done some amazing investigative reporting. And this, I wanted to go over this with the search warrants. It is on a couple other websites and news sites and what have you. But the bottom line is search warrants have been released, but they got inaccurate information. And this is not something we should be really surprised about, because look at how much they screwed up the investigation from the get-go with the local PD. So let's check out the updates here. It has been just over 2 weeks since a convicted sex offender is said to have murdered 5 children and his wife of less than a year. Search warrants are slowly being returned, now giving a possible motive for the killings, but also depicting false information. According to the Okmulgee, I'm going to get that right one day, District Court Clerk's Office, 8 search warrants involving Jesse McFadden have been issued, but only 3 have been returned so far. The first search warrant was issued at 1:25 p.m. back on May 1st. The same day, 7 bodies were discovered on the property. Once the initial search warrant was obtained, law enforcement claims they found the, quote, front door was ajar, unquote. That returned search warrant shows photographs, a State Farm Drive safe token, and miscellaneous receipts were the only pieces of evidence found and seized from Jesse McFadden's property on May 1st. That's the only pieces of information that they picked up. Well, that's insane. After what we've seen in the videos, let's continue. An Okmulgee County Sheriff's Office investigator added that a white Chevrolet Avalanche was impounded by a Beggs, Oklahoma wrecker service. Now, the vehicle had a no-touch hold on it. Records show that law enforcement then seized 8 pieces of evidence from the vehicle on May 8th, once OSBI had already taken over. So here's what they have taken from the vehicle. 8 latent print cards from Avalanche Processing, 5 palm and 3 fingerprint, 4 pairs of swabs from exterior door handles, 4 interior door handles, steering wheel from Avalanche, Route 66 lanyard with 2 Brinks keys on ring. Wonder what those are for. Straw from driver's side flat lid cup. Straw from passenger side cup dome lid. Purchase receipt ×3 from Avalanche Processing on May 8th, 2 McDonald's McCafe cups, DVD with Avalanche Processing photos on May 8th. Some of that stuff is really interesting to me. In the same set of search warrants is false information. But again, I'm not surprised with how this case has gone. Your officiant was made aware of a missing persons case involving a 14-year-old female named Tiffany Guess, records show. That's not true. Of course, as we know, she was not the one reported missing. Court records also indicated there was an Amber Alert pushed out for Tiffany Guess and Ivy Webster, but both those statements are inaccurate. It wasn't Tiffany Guess, not at all. There was a missing and endangered alert for Ivy Webster and Brittany Brewer, not Tiffany Guess. Tiffany Guess was not included in the push notification. So those notifications that went out to Oklahomans, they had nothing to do with Tiffany Guess. Court records also show Tiffany's father was interviewed on McFadden's property by Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation agents about the additional items of interest he found inside of the home. The subject described the items to be clothing and personal belongings of the deceased victims, the report shows. Ivy Webster's dad, Justin, said that's also not true. He claims that he was the one interviewed on McFadden's property. McFadden's rental property is several acres wide, but 3 different street numbers have been recorded. Documents show Tiffany lived at 14317 Holly Road It shows Ivy was spending the night at 14360 Holly Road. The mailbox outside of the McFadden property has 14600 as the street number. 3 addresses for one property. What's up with that? How many times does it take a sheriff's office to mess up over and over and over again to where we finally get an investigation into the sheriff's office? Asked Justin. They failed once again miserably over and over again. Factual, and Justin is the one I'm trusting a lot more in this. He was there. He lost his daughter who was there for a sleepover, and his information, as far as we need to be able to confirm, is factual. He knows what he's talking about. According to records, cellular phone pings showed McFadden's wife, Holly Guess's cell phone was actively pinging on or near the property as of May 1st at 12:45 p.m. Tiffany's, try that again, 3, 2, 1. Tiffany's cell phone pinged on or near the property, but then the signal was lost. No other cell phone pinging on or near the McFadden property has been reported thus far. The local storage unit Guess appeared to be making monthly payments to was also searched. I want to know what was in there. Law enforcement was made aware of the storage unit on May 6, according to records. This was just one day after News 4 aired a story about the potential evidence left behind by law enforcement, including a check made out to the storage facility. Records showed nothing was seized from the unit. What the hell, guys? Based off what we were told, that there was really just like pool supplies, and that was all that was in that storage unit, so there was no real concern, stated Justin. Justin told KFOR since OSBI took over his daughter's investigation, there's been a steady stream of information. We're being updated, and it's good communication, and I'm grateful for it, said Justin. Finally, with OSBI on it, we're getting somewhere. Local police department there, what the heck were they doing? I have no idea. Before the OSBI took over, records show that Okamogobi 3, 2, 1. Before the OSBI took over, records show the OPD, I'm going to say OPD because I know I'm going to get Okamogobi wrong again, was the lead on this case and only asked OSBI for partial assistance. Yeah, because they didn't want them getting nosy and getting involved. And guess what? We would never know any of this stuff. News 4 has been made aware of 2 hard drives, drug paraphernalia, 2 laptops, 2 tablets, a check, a 9mm gun, bullet casings, and 9 cell phones recovered from McFadden's property. The Webster family told KFOR they feel as if the opportunity to grieve over Ivy has been stripped away from them because they're constantly looking for answers and accepting tips from the public. I just feel like I need to keep fighting and keep digging to get answers. And that's my motivation right now, and not just answers for us, but answers for other victims that might be out there, stated Justin. Let me tell you, this father is awesome, and we've talked about him before, and he's an amazing advocate not only for his daughter, but for other potential victims that are out there, and I have to applaud him. He's amazing. A possible motive revealed in court records is McFadden telling his mother the evening of April 30th that he was not going back to prison and had decided to kill himself. Officials were asked during a press conference about McFadden's possible motive, but they declined to speculate. Of course they did. News 4 asked the state medical examiner's office for comment on May 8th, but were told, quote, our agency does not answer questions regarding cases or scenes, unquote. Yeah, a lot of no comments going on down there, or up there. We have continued asking questions and filing open records requests with the Okmulgee Sheriff's Office. Proof of one home compliance check at the McFadden property was emailed last week. So there is just one that they can prove that McFadden had a check. One check. Not acceptable at all. News 4 has requested other documentation pertaining to McFadden, but we're told Wednesday afternoon. The request wouldn't be fulfilled by the sheriff's office by a department three. Hang on. 3, 2, 1. News 4 had requested other documentation pertaining to McFadden, but were told Wednesday afternoon the request wouldn't be fulfilled by the sheriff's office by a department receptionist. We were directed to the DA's office. News 4 showed up to the DA's office on Wednesday afternoon, asking why an open records request for a different department would be redirected to their office, but no one was available for comment. How convenient. In the meantime, Justin is encouraging everyone to sign their petition demanding a change in current laws when it comes to registered sex offender sentences and probationary requirements. He's also calling on Governor Kevin Stitt and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to step in. Again, I will include another link to his petition, which I have signed, and I highly, highly, highly recommend everybody sign it, because we have no idea how far this whole thing goes. How far does this go? I mean, I believe that it doesn't stop on that property. It doesn't stop there. There's just got to be more to it. Truly, truly, there has to be more. And then we get to the whole marriage license between Jesse McFadden and Holly Guess. It's some shocking stuff involved in the fact that Jesse McFadden and Holly Guess were married by the prison chaplain. I mean, what the hell, guys? Let's check out this piece from News Nation on Banfield with Brian Enton.
So the marriage license business is so troubling. The fact that a prison chaplain presided over the wedding for these two, even though he was long sprung from jail, right? And then that one of the sheriff's department employees who lists sex offender registration as part of her LinkedIn, and we're assuming they're the same people, it's the same name, right? What did Ivy's family have to say about that?
Very, very troubled, very, very confused. Something is not adding up to them. The fact that it was the sheriff's office chaplain who married Jesse McFadden and Holly, and that it was the sheriff's secretary who is also over the sex offender unit who signed off as a witness. They don't understand it, and they're very, very confused. Listen to what they told me. There are some weird things that don't make a lot of sense, like the chaplain signing off on the marriage certificate and the witness being the sheriff's secretary. Have you been able to sort any of that out?
From my understanding, she's also, or the secretary is also the same person who is in charge of registering sex offenders as well. And the secretary is the one who's supposed to schedule visits and do all that. And it's a little confusing that the same person who's supposed to be in charge of the sexual registry and whatnot is the same people or person that's marrying and signing off on marriage certificates for sex offenders to marry women that they clearly manipulated.
Do you think the failures initially with not searching was it an oversight, or do you think there's something more to it with what you're learning about the marriage certificate?
At this point, I think there's more to it. I don't want to call it a cover-up. I think it was, they already knew, and they just wanted to do a light investigation and say, yep, we found their guy, that's it. There's no other story here. But yet we now know there's a lot more to the story that they didn't want to investigate, and that is the question, why?
So they don't know the answers, Ashley. They wanted to clear something up. They're not getting additional information from the sheriff's office or from the state now investigating. They only know what we know. We're going to be on the ground.
And yeah, I actually agree with Justin. We don't want to say the word cover up, but it's kind of looking like a cover up, you know? Looking like this is a town of secrets. Dirty, dirty secrets. how far do those secrets go?
Around here, really trying to figure out this marriage license thing because it's very, very strange.
All of it. Why they haven't given press conferences, why they won't answer questions from the press, why they blame the press for misinformation when all we've been doing is begging them to do their jobs and then tell us why they haven't and what is happening. It's been confounding to me. And then to see that there's a connection between law enforcement and this filthy beast is extremely upsetting. The other question I have real quickly, Brian, is that Henryetta, Oklahoma is a population of 5,600 people. That's little. I can't understand how that small of a community, how it can't be rampant information that that guy is a sex offender and he married Holly down the street with the 3 kids. How that isn't just all over the place.
Listen, I know it's surprising. You'd think in a small town, there are a lot of sex offenders around here, though. We've gone through the list. Justin Ivy's dad was telling me even after the murders, they were at their other son's kindergarten graduation. There was a sex offender, he says, in the audience. The principal had to come out and tell that man to leave, someone who they say had been at the school before. They believe if these murders hadn't happened, they wouldn't have even been noticing and tracking these guys the way they are right now.
And there are 98 predators in Henryetta with that small population. 98. It's insane. So I want to play a bit of a piece with Banfield. It was on a couple nights ago. She's speaking actually with the attorney, Justin, the father of one of the victims. And it's going into about how it seems like Jesse McFadden was friendly with law enforcement. And they go into how he doesn't seem that he was really looked in upon when he was released from prison.
I want to bring in Cameron Spradling. He is a local attorney representing Ivy Webster's family, and he's live with me now. Cameron, we've been, periodically touching base with you to sort of find out the most we can, given the fact that law enforcement has been so tight-lipped. Do you have any updates at all since we spoke last week?
Yeah, this was so bizarre that this came about. It was kind of like a rumor that we would track down. I have a very good former FBI agent named Martha Justice, and she's my private investigator. And I put her on this problem with this marriage license, and I can try to give you a timeline if you'd like, but it looks like May of 2021, he moved into the community, Jesse McFadden, and checked in as a sex offender with the sheriff's secretary. And then it was about December of 2021 that Holly got divorced. And then in March or so, we know that he was already living in the house. And in May, he comes back to the jail, and this is May of 2022, and he gets married by the jail chaplain, witnessed by the sheriff's secretary. And here's the crazy thing, and let me add one thing that you haven't mentioned. Less than a month after the marriage, there was only one time that a sheriff's deputy ever checked the house, and that was after the wedding. And there's no other checks at all before or after at the residence of this sex offender. And the check was done by the sheriff's the sheriff's secretary's son. And
Melissa Smalley's son is the sheriff's deputy that did the check at Jesse McFadden's house. Let me repeat that. Let me repeat that just so, because it's a lot. It's a lot for me to take in, and it's a lot for our audience to follow too. Melissa Smalley, who is the assistant deputy, she's with the sheriff's department. She's the assistant who signed the marriage certificate. She has a son who's a sheriff's deputy.
You register sex offenders. Yes.
Right. There's another nugget.
Her son, Crafton Smalley, is 30 years old and lives with her. And he did the site check in June of 2022, just after the marriage. And that was the only site check that was ever made at that house.
So,
and by the way,
I mean, wow.
Yeah, and according to the site check, the documents himself, all he did was verify that he was at the house. That's all that took
Didn't
place.
go in and take a look at some of the restraints and the candied drugs. Okay. So then
Correct.
the next question is, if you're a registered sex offender, it's my understanding you have to check in every 3 months. It also, in his paperwork, says he was compliant. What does that mean if there was only one on-site check? What else would have happened or likely would have happened to get this compliant designation?
He didn't do anything. There's no explanation for that at all. There was only one check on him at the address. We don't have any proof that DHS ever went to that house and saw where those children were living at. We don't have any proof that anyone ever went into the house and looked
Cameron,
at the
would he have been going?
situation.
So I'm just trying to, I never, lived with or been close friends with a sex offender, but would it be possible that he would check himself in at the sheriff's department, bring donuts and say, hi, it's me, Jesse. I'm one of the good guys. I'm making it easy on you. You don't have to get in your cruiser and come to my ranch. I'll just come in and do it for you. How are you all?
I have two theories on this. The one theory is you have to understand that sex offenders are manipulative. They're brilliant at what they do in persuading people. And so when he checked in May, he just dropped in so they didn't have to go find him and endeared himself to them, introduced him to Holly, his fiance. Life is good. He was going to be their success story to them. And they opened their hearts to him, opened their chapel to him, opened their chaplain to him, opened the secretary, and they all had a big wedding. That's one theory, that they were all taking advantage. The other theory is that they knew before he was married that he was living in that house with 3 children, and he wasn't married. He wasn't married to her, and that would be a violation. So they suggested to him, come to the jail, let's get you married so that you won't have a problem anymore. And that's why her son was the one that did the site check 3 weeks after the marriage.
We are not finished this conversation. Wow. All of this stinks. I mean, really
Stinks.
Something's rotten in Denmark here. It stinks. And I want answers,
Sure.
and they just won't speak to the press because apparently we're the villains in this story, even though our screeching finally got them to come back and collect evidence.
Wow. Can you imagine? I love this attorney for the family. And could tell you, he's not going to put up with no crap. And right on, man. Get these families of these 2 girls, because I can't speak for Holly's side of the family. And we definitely don't think that Jesse's side of the family cares, which I haven't even gotten into that one. But as far as Ivy and Brittany's family, they're not going to let this one go, and thank gosh. And we're not going to let it go either. Something stinks. That's exactly right, Ashley. Something stinks. And I don't think it's something. I think it's some things. There's some crazy stuff going on in Henryetta. So apparently Jesse McFadden spoke to his mother the day before the bodies were found on May 1st. He told her he wasn't going to go back to prison and he would off himself. Turns out it's not far from what happened.
So let's start with Jesse McFadden's mom. Ready for this? Sheriff's investigator told a judge, this was in a request for a search warrant, that Jesse McFadden called his mommy on the evening of April 30th and talked to LaDonna McFadden, that's mommy, about killing himself. LaDonna McFadden told a reporter, like a couple days later, after the massacre, the mass suicide that he committed, and then the mass murder suicide, she said to the reporter, my heart is breaking for the victims. I don't understand it. I never, ever would have expected anything like this. And yet she told a sheriff's investigator that monster called her on the evening of April 30th, talked about killing himself. So that's pretty new, pretty shocking. Also, some other exclusive information tonight. That Oklahoma farmhouse that was being rented to Jesse McFadden by a landlord named Raymond Paget. Raymond had no legal authorization to rent that house because he was in an ugly divorce with his estranged wife, and that thing was in receivership, which meant he wasn't supposed to rent or collect rent of any property, let alone this one. So this was an illegal rental. Did he know that he was renting illegally to a guy who's a sex offender with teenage kids that were going to live in the house? Is there a reason why he callously demanded, get your stuff and get out of here, to those victims' family members who came to figure out what happened? Paget has quite a criminal past himself, it turns out. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, domestic abuse, all in April of 2012. And then in January of 2006, another assault and battery. All right, there's that. Then there's Holly. What did Holly know before? And what could she have done to change what happened to her and her family and those two visiting kids? What? Well, it turns out that she did a few deceptive things in her past. When she was getting a divorce from her previous husband, Joe Guess, they filed documents that said, there are no minor children of the marriage and none are expected. Problem with that is that the divorce notice was December 2021, and they'd been married for 13 years. And Holly had a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old. So there's a real good chance that that little Tiffany at 13 was theirs. And there is a chance as well that Michael at 15 was theirs as well. Why would they lie? She'd already moved in with the sex offender. Was this a possible reason to lie? You don't say anything about us having kids, and maybe you can get out of child support. I don't know. Maybe. But they lied, both of them, on that divorce.
Like I said, it's a wormhole that just keeps going. It's like you dig and dig and dig. More and more and more. But these 5 right here are the victims. Okay? At the beginning, you had a rest of them saying, oh, Holly's a victim. I'm sorry. Holly was a part of all this. She knew what was going on in that house. There's no way. How could she not know? How could she not know all these chains, these locks? There is drug paraphernalia, sex toys, all kinds of stuff all over that house. And you had computers, and gosh knows what's on those computers. And again, you have all these cell phones, up to 32 cell phones registered to that address. So you can't tell me that Holly Guess was innocent at all. I think she picked out Jesse, and she got rid of her ex-husband, who we know for sure is Tiffany's biological father. From what I understand, the other 2 children are not his biologically, but he had been around them most of their lives, so they considered him like a father. And to save money, what have you, she told him, let's not claim that we have any children. So he doesn't have to pay child support. She doesn't have to, claim that anywhere. But there are minor children in that home. And Holly knew everything that her new love and now husband was doing. And then Tiffany invited over 2 friends, Ivy and Brittany, and sadly got them involved in whatever was going on in that home. So it's just, it's never ending. And to me, there's so much more involved. And then you bring in the landlord. It's possible that they weren't paying rent, that he may have claimed that that Jesse was a quote unquote caretaker and they were living on the land, the property. But I don't know. I just can't believe he's completely innocent and complicit in all this stuff. And like she said, he calls up the families 3 days later. It's like, hurry up, get your stuff out of here. And he's supposedly that day over there cleaning out, off the property. Cleaning out the pastures. So you can't tell me he didn't know what was going on that property. And then you have Jesse's brother, Cody, who has been in and out of jail, and he just was in jail, and now he's out. And he's also into some shady stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was a frequent visitor to that property. So it's sick, and I just can't believe that it begins and ends with Jesse McFadden, Holly Guess, and that particular family there. Sadly, I believe that there's many more victims to him and to Holly. I truly believe that she knew everything, and they had that chaplain marry them? And how many outside of there were involved? I hate to put it out there that there may be some people in high places involved, but it seems to be starting to wonder about that one, huh? So who else knew? Who else knew about the goings on behind those doors of that home on that property? Who else knew? All right, guys, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to continue to follow up on all this stuff and let you guys know. But let me know what you think in the comments. Again, I'll include the link to the law, the Knight's Law that Justin Webster, Ivy's dad, is advocating for. And also I'll link to the Facebook page, So please do continue to support Ivy and Brittany and the three kids. Definitely, these to me are the victims, and for all we know, that they're just the beginning of who was a victim of Jesse McFadden. All right, guys, have a good one, and most of all, stay safe.